Awesome. Welcome to Lesson 15. In Lesson 15, we are going to talk about elements. Some of you may have noticed at the very front of our room, is the periodic table of elements. In Lesson 16, you're going to learn a little bit more about what that is and why we have a periodic table of elements. But we're going to kind of delve into just what is an element. Okay. So what is an element? It is the simplest form of a substance that you can get. That's all there is. It is the simplest form. Okay? Okay. Now, you might be thinking, like, water, that's a pretty simple substance, and that's about as simple as it gets. But actually, water is not an element, okay? Water is not as simple as it gets. Water is actually comprised of hydrogen and oxygen put together, which are two of the elements. And when hydrogen bonds with the oxygen in a very specific way, then it is water. So something really interesting about elements, is that there are only 90 of them that occur naturally in the world. It's pretty amazing. And you might be thinking, like, why is this so amazing? Well, hold on just a second. Okay, this is really cool. Okay, so there's only 90 naturally occurring elements in the world. This is amazing. Now, in laboratories, scientists have actually been able to create about 25 more. So there are substances that we might use with certain technologies, or as we advance medically, things like that. These particular substances come into play, but they're not naturally occurring. They're things that only scientists have been able to create in a lab. So there's about, and I say about because at this point scientists are still creating them, and it's hard to say exactly how many there are, and there's a debate about whether or not some are elements or not. So there's about 25 that were created in labs. Okay. Now, what's so cool about this? Well, all things. You, me, my sweater, this pen, everything in the world, the earth, the ground, the dirt, the stars, the air that we're breathing right now. Every single thing in existence anywhere is made from different combinations of these 115 elements. You just put them together in different ways and you create everything that we have. So paint, it's made of those same 115 elements that your heart is made from. Okay? Now, your heart doesn't have 115 elements in it. Just like water, I was saying, only includes two of the elements, hydrogen and oxygen. But what's so cool about this is that all you have to do is combine these 115, and truly, since only 90 are naturally occurring, really, it's mostly just those 90 elements that you're combining in different ways to create everything in this world. Different colors of things, different textures of things. It's amazing. It's unbelievable when you think about it. So, this is really, really important to know. Okay? All things in this world are made of different combinations of these elements. Okay? Please take time to just write this stuff down. You can fast forward as I'm writing if you'd like. Just as I write this stuff down in green. As soon as I'm done writing that, you can stop fast forwarding. Okay, so as we continue, okay, some examples that you're going to want to note, okay? For example, oxygen is one of the elements. Now, you might think, oh yeah, we breathe oxygen. Well, everything in this air is not just oxygen. There's water vapor in this air, there's, you know, all sorts of things. There's carbon in this air, there's tons of stuff other than just oxygen in this air. Okay, there's also an element called carbon. I have a shirt I'll have to wear for you guys one of these days. This particular element is really cool because so many things in this world are made from carbon. It's amazing. Carbon and oxygen are some of our most frequently occurring elements that you'll see in things. Nitrogen is a big one. That's important. Silver, gold, those are actually pure elements. It's pretty awesome. Aluminum is also a pure element. So there's some things that are surprising that are pure elements, and then there's others that are a little bit more complex that you're thinking like, oh, okay, when do you see nitrogen just on its own? You don't as often. But it is in a lot of things. For example, the fertilizer that you use in like a field a farmer might use, or that you might use in your garden, that's made with nitrogen. So there's a lot of different compounds that are created with these elements that we use every day. I'm not obviously going to list all 90 elements, for one, because you have it in the form of the periodic table in your folders, and I have it up there above the board. So please, if you're interested in looking at that, you're more than welcome, but we're going to do a little bit more of an investigation with the periodic table in lesson 16. Okay, the last thing that you need to note here is what an atom is. Okay, so we're talking about these elements. Now, an atom is the smallest particle size that you can get of an element. Okay? So an atom is about as small as it gets. Now, in further lessons, you're going to see that there's little parts to an atom, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So an atom of oxygen is the smallest particle size of an element that you can get. So it's like the simplest, smallest thing. Okay, an atom. Okay, it is the smallest particle size of an element. Okay, and so in your activity today, you're going to see something about atomic mass. So different atoms of different elements are going to have different masses. They're going to be slightly different sizes. So there are some elements that are going to be really small and some that are going to be larger. Now keep in mind, you cannot even see an atom with a common microscope. So although, yes, they're very small, and yes, some are bigger than others, when we talk about the atomic mass, it is something that you will never be able to touch or feel or really even see, because you can't see it under a microscope. So an atom is incredibly difficult, I think, to kind of think about. But you'll see. So atomic mass, okay, that is the mass of that particular kind of atom. May it be oxygen or carbon or hydrogen, and you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly what we mean by this when we put the periodic table together, because the periodic table is set up in a certain way so that you are able to see the atomic mass of various elements. So you'll see which ones are larger and which ones are smaller than others. Now remember, they're all microscopic, incredibly small. Smaller than a germ, smaller than bacteria, so please keep that in mind. But all right, this concludes your lesson 15 lecture. Please make sure that you take these notes down, and great.